Thank you guys for joining me at the Town Square of the Purple A Society, my own little indie university where you can access playlists and music and audiobooks, lectures and spiritual development, even entertainment. Everything that's going to help us to unpack the soul's journey is what this university is all about here at Purple A Society. So before we begin, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to check out my playlist. I've got a great playlist with books and lectures on strategic thinking that all my personal growth family might be into. The link will be in the playlist for you to grow, show, and improve with. And if you have any suggestions on playlists that might be good for the channel, let me know in the comments. And if they fit the vibe and the mission of our community, I got you, boo. So the title of this video is called The Games People Play When They Fear the Truth. So listen, I get it. The truth can be very hard to handle. It's especially hard when we aren't aware of the existence of our ego. This little ego of ours, it's determined to convince us and everyone else of whatever identity it thinks it is. And so much of our lives are spent building up this false self, this ego, and so much of our enlightenment is then spent tearing it down. And the ego is a little tricky little thing because it tells us that we need validation and approval. Any sign that this status is being compromised knocks the breath out of us because who are we without this identity? It's almost like a death, ceasing to exist as the person we have convinced ourselves that we are, and worse yet, who we must be. So truth can be terrorizing to our egos. Truth, especially if we have to face it in front of one or two people, or dare I say a group of people, the public even, it can be emotionally tragic if we aren't used to facing it. But the truth will hit us all, and it doesn't care who we think we are, what we think we have, what we think we have going on, or what our emotional state is when it steps us to us and G-checks us. And the truth is, it's its own thing and breezes through whenever necessary and can come in the form of a realization, betrayal, the words of a loved one, the shade of an enemy, or even some tragedy. Sometimes it hits so hard and knocks all the breath out of us that we have left in us. And all we can do is just face it in its entirety and in its enormity. But in this essay, I'm proposing that there are some subtle ways that us as people try to skate by the truth. Sometimes it's so that we can just convince other people otherwise, but many times it's just us, trying not to face it within ourselves. So let's be clear. We are all guilty of these to one degree or another. We're all human and we all struggle with the plight of having to deprogram the foolishness from our psyche so that we can live life on a higher dimension than before. It's a we thing. That means me too. We all are flawed and all fall victim to this. But I'm just going to list, some of the sneaky little manipulation tactics that humans use to avoid facing the truth, inevitably in avoiding inner progress. So the first thing we do is we deflect. Here they go again, bringing up something we just don't want to face right now. Hell, maybe we don't even know what to do about the situation that we're even in. Right now, we might not, even be in a time where we feel we can rationally process the matter and come up with a solution. We just can't do it right now. And then again, maybe we just never want to face this truth ever. We don't ever want to accept the fact that we have this problem. We don't think we need to change. We don't want to change. We think it's too hard. It's uncomfortable. It's inconvenient. So we just deflect. On social media, I see a lot of big societal issues. A discussion about the actual existence and real effects of systemic racism comes up, and a conservative doesn't want to face it. So they deflect by blaming the entire discussion on liberals or Democrats or the leftist media. Men and women don't want to address their personal problems with finding satisfying love, so they just blame the opposite sex and call them toxic. But on a more micro level, lovers, family members, friends, co-workers, and even sworn enemies do it to each other. We gaslight and we act like the problem isn't us at all, but with the other person. We play the blame game. We bring up issues from the past as a tit for tat, or even introduce some irrelevant point to the conversation to redirect it away from the matter at hand. But what happens? What gets solved? Nothing. Nothing gets solved. No one gets to grow. Love doesn't expand. Understanding never ensues. And why? Because we're too fucking insecure to be wrong or fail or to be seen as imperfect. We all somehow think that another person's criticism or negative view of us or what we did defines us as people, because we spend more time building up the ego than we do cultivating the soul. Another thing we do when we don't want to accept reality or face the truth, we insult. How dare they, insult me or address me like that? How dare someone tell me of my flaws when they have them too? How dare I be forced to face a potential flaw in my programming? How dare my sense of self, of my false self be betrayed? No cultivation of the soul. So we just insult. Some of us carry this childish behavior into our adult lives. We use labels and name calling and below the belt jabs and character attacks, and sometimes even straight up lies to avoid addressing something that really defines us more than the other person, or describes us, not defines us, but describes us more than the other person. And even if the other person was at fault for some minimal slight, our insults are a deflection away from our inability to handle being made to feel negative emotions. Essentially, we can't stand to have our feelings hurt, so we jab back with wicked words and attacks to a person's core that we can never take back. And even though our vibration never quite feels so good about it, we justify it and our immature inability to solve conflict without dysfunctional emotionalism. We act like toddlers on the playground or the mean kids at the lunch table. We don't talk it out. We don't forgive and move on. We don't even work through our own feelings. We just say whatever petty ass thing we can to make the other person feel as bad as we do. And if it sounds funny or shady enough, we're even patted on the back for the clever repartee. Another thing we do is we gaslight. This means that we play these exhaustive back and forth emotional games that waste more time than the truth would have. We turn the truth around to make the other person look crazy. We blame them for having feelings at all. We reason that their emotions to our words or behavior are the problem instead of recognizing that we wounded them. Even if we don't think what we did was all that big, we still can't find it in ourselves to see it from their perspective, however minuscule we see the slight. We blame them for things we are doing. We manipulate their minds to quiet them. We manipulate to inflame them because we need the emotional fuel. We get the high when we set someone off emotionally. And it's all because we play manipulation games with ourselves and we never seek emotional growth or personal integrity. Part of our personal evolution as people requires that we take into account our treatment of others. When we don't see the value in healthy relationships and emotional trust between people, when we don't care how much our words and actions affect others, only as much as we can get what we want from them, which often includes an allegiance to our egos, we uphold the ego, like we prop it up. We prop up the ego and we smash any semblance of healthy relationships or healthy conflict resolution. So instead of accepting that self-accountability could make us infinitely better people, we just weaponize the truth. We insult the intelligence of others while simultaneously insulting our own integrity. Another thing we do is we create narratives. We bend the truth. We might include parts of the truth, but that's just part of the game. It's too hard to just say, you know what, you're right, or I will take some time to genuinely consider what you're saying, or you know what, maybe I was wrong. So we just act as our own public relations managers and come up with whatever story to lessen the blow of what we did. We paint ourselves as victims. We throw our trauma up as excuses. And sometimes we just flat out lie and then do our best to forget the matter even occurred, because thinking that we wasted all that time avoiding the truth makes us feel even more foolish. We just don't want to have to face it anymore. And some of those narratives create arguments. When the other person sees the flaw in what we're asserting, they may call it out. So in order to keep up with the negative or the narrative, we have to hold fast and we have to argue the point some more. And we have to make up other lies to keep the original lie going. Not to say that all arguments are based on deflection. Some arguments are necessary to get to a common understanding, but sometimes these arguments are just pointless. Sometimes they're not even initially personal matters. Sometimes they aren't political or social in context, but somehow triggers of our personal identification or triggers to our personal identification. So, for instance, if one's community is critiqued, the person takes it as a personal slight. So the argument stems from a personal trigger causing us to never examining the validity of the other point. So nevertheless, we argue it until we're exhausted and we never get anywhere. And truth be told, we rarely get anywhere productive with any of these manipulation tactics, these deceptive, subtle things we do to avoid facing or even considering the truth. And it's just behavior that we should all take responsibility for and work through, because it does not help anything. As we grow as people, as we expand, as we awaken, as we decide that we want better, as we, go into personal development, as we heal, as we do the shadow work, the whole purpose of that is to accept reality inside of us and to be able to do it even in the face of discomfort. So one of the things we have to do is learn how to simply sit in discomfort. Learn how to sit in whatever discomfort that truth and reality are presenting us right now, because running from it doesn't fix anything. It shoves it. We shove it down, we avoid it, then we explode, or we do something stupid, or we're made to look dumb, or we completely ruin our relationships, or we do the things that we're doing now, creating war and havoc against the American people by the government. It's not how we need to be conducting ourselves publicly, privately. We need to get to the point where we can accept the truth, be truthful about it, no matter how uncomfortable that truth is, because the truth will set us free. Lies, deflection tactics, blaming and gaslighting will not set us free. The truth will. Okay. So now I want you to know that I've been a practitioner of the tarot for about 13 years. I started teaching the tarot during the pandemic in what's called the Inner Four family. And my approach to the tarot app has absolutely nothing to do with predicting the future or reading anyone's minds. It was never what it was intended to be about. It's just a game. And so my readings are basically about personal development through the examination of symbols and archetypes hidden within our psyches. So like I say all the time, my readings are about detoxifying the personality. And I do these weekly readings for members of my $7 a month Inner Four Tarot podcast. And my podcast, it's on a new platform. It's on Substack, same value. So every Sunday night, my members get access to my long form 10 card readings from 4 powerful decks, where we focus on detoxifying that personality and analyzing those subconscious blocks in our way, learning how to deal with reality and sitting in truth without deflection and gaslighting. And then on top of that, I drop jewels on ancient religion, global spirituality, energy clearing, emotional freedom, quantum physics, and self-esteem. We even tear apart our favorite TV shows and film and art and songs so that we can examine the soul's journey through entertainment as well. So the conversation is actually a lot of fun. Not only are we growing and we're learning, not only are we doing shadow work in a safe way together, but we're also having a good time and laughing and enjoying ourselves at the same time. And we also have a book club. We read books that build up and enhance our personal power and our inner magic. And you'll get access to that in the podcast too. And it's all about waking up the divine inside of us so that it can take over and run things right. And none of it includes predicting the future, reading anyone's minds, conjuring up anything, or manipulating anybody. So if you're interested in that tarot education and that shadow work, becoming confident that you can learn to resolve your problems in a little better way by using the cards to examine your psyche, because that's what it's all about, and you're interested in that book club, all of that, 4 episodes a month for $7 a month. Just click the link in my description box below. And I look forward to seeing you over there at Substack for the Inner Forward podcast and just having a good time learning and growing and expanding together. You guys have a wonderful day. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.